evening and welcome to On Point with Ellen Whippy-Knight, where we talk to successful women and men of Fiji, wherever they may be. And this evening I have with me the vivacious, Honourable Lenora Qereqeretabua. Good evening and so welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Ellen.
You're absolutely somebody I've wanted to talk to for such a long time.
That's nice.
You have a really interesting life from the moment as a child, from falling off balconies, getting hit by cars, and then, you know, going to school in Australia in year 10, year 11, year 12. You started off as a trainee TV producer and was meant to be setting up Channel 9 here in Fiji at the group of people from Fiji, including the AG. And that never happened. But then you came back to Fiji and created a life for yourself.
Yep, well, it's been an interesting life, to say the least.
So what actually happened to the TV industry job?
Well, there were 6 of us that were chosen from Fiji in January 1987. And we joined our 6 counterparts from Papua New Guinea who were then going to work at MTV. And we were going to work at Fiji TV under Channel 9. So they flew, the 12 of us, 6 from Fiji, 6 from Papua New Guinea, over to Sydney and went to Afters and spent 3 months at Afters studying television production and directing. So we came back after the 3-month stint and got to work. We actually started putting programming together, sending videotapes, VHS tapes to local markets around the country to keep them up to date with the international affairs. And then the coup happened. And after the 1987 coup happened, Channel 9 Australia pulled out of Fiji. Didn't pull out of Papua New Guinea, and as you know, MTV's been running since then. But so the 6 of us here in Fiji basically had to go out and find other jobs. And
so what did you do?
I joined Bank of New Zealand.
You were a bank teller?
Yep, I was a bank teller, and a very good one, thank you.
I know you would have been, and you were there for about 3 years actually, weren't you?
Yes, I left in 1991 to go back to
And then
Canada.
from there your career just kept developing. You know, because one of the things I do remember you for was when you were at FM 96, and I came to Fiji and I saw this amazing team in FM 96. There was you and Nolene Powell and Charles Taylor, the IT group of the time. What was that experience like?
It was fantastic. I had just had a little baby. I got hired in my 7th month of pregnancy by William Parkinson.
Yes, I remember that.
And he said, well, if you want to come and work with us, we'd like you to come and work with us, but you've got to come back straight after a month is over. So fortunately, I just lived about 100 meters up the road from 23 Stewart Street and could dash home after the breakfast show and go and breastfeed my daughter. And I actually had some funny stories of me pumping breast milk during the breakfast show.
Well, that's what women's rights is about. Yes. You've got to be able to feed your children wherever and whenever it is necessary. So I'm really proud that you did that. From FM 96, you went on to Vodafone. You were
well, actually, no. From FM 96, I went to FBC for a little while.
FBC,
yes,
then you went
to
Quartz.
Yes.
Then Vodafone.
I joined Vodafone in 2005.
But in all that time, one of the things that made you the most recognized female face in the Pacific at the time was your work as a hostess of Pacific Way.
Right.
And you were doing that behind the corporate jobs that you had.
Yes, I was very blessed to get that opportunity. I was very blessed to have shared the camera or the screen with the great late Mr. Yamini Onovo, who passed away in 2012, and also later Rupeni Matakimbau. But I'd basically been hosting the show for 21 years up until last year.
That is a long spell. How did you do that, you know, behind your actual permanent job?
Well, it was easy for me. I was just the face that came in and read the lines.
Yes.
The hard work was done by the crew who did the traveling around the Pacific, wrote the stories, wrote the scripts. They just said, are you free next week? Can you come in for a few hours and come and host the show? So I just walked in. But the funny thing is, for 10 years of the show, I had to basically cram the scripts. We didn't get auto cue until about the 11th or 12th year.
Oh my goodness.
I couldn't believe the luxury of having an auto cue.
Well, that's probably, you know, the fact that you're just a smart person. And plus you did this job with such a passion. When I've ever watched you on Pacific Way, I am actually, forgive me when I say this, not really listening to what you say. I'm watching your delivery. I'm listening to your voice and that smile and just the ease that you did it with. So that obviously comes naturally, and that's why you got chosen in the beginning to go to Australia to become part of the Channel 9's program.
Well, I don't know. I was only 18. I had just
Wow.
literally done my ASAT exams in Canberra in December 1986. And I was waiting for a reply from Canberra Uni. I had applied to them, and then this job came up, and I said to my parents, let me apply for this job because this is what I'll eventually do with the degree that I plan to do in Canberra. And, you know, they moaned and groaned for a bit, but then they said, okay, well, go for it. And I was 18 years old when I went to...
Then what did you do after? When you left Vodafone, and the great thing about Vodafone, let's go back to Vodafone actually, you were the head of the Vodafone Foundation.
Yes.
What did that role involve?
That role is the charity and philanthropic arm of Vodafone. It's actually called the Vodafone ATH Fiji Foundation. And what they do is they have fantastic programs. They are a funder of local programming that reaches out and touches communities. So it's not only the charity arm, but it's also an arm of Vodafone that assists with placing people in their expert areas if they haven't been able to find a job. Charities will hire these people, and it's been a great story.
Yes, and you did very well in that role. But then you know, after a little while, after a number of years actually, you did leave.
Yes, I came to 2012, and I thought, you know, I could be doing something that I really want to do. I really need to do some charity work. There's a lot of work in church that I could be doing, and it's impossible to do with the big workload that I had at Vodafone. So I decided to resign out of the blue. In August, I handed in my resignation. It was very scary because I was going to say goodbye to a huge salary, the bonuses, the company car, the company phone, the company laptop. But you know, I had to step out into the unknown at some time and try and make it on my own. And
you did, because you went into public relations, a consultancy of your own. You actually worked at Fiji Fashion Week for a while, and we were very sorry to let you go. And then, you know, you were working as an MC, and that was the other thing, just your ability to be able to entrap the audience's attention and bring them into your world and your zone as you were working for a client, and make that, half the time I think those events work because of you and how you led the audience. Did you enjoy that?
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the fact that, you know, I could help a group of people finish an event or start and finish an event. I was very demanding as an MC, because I always told my clients, as an MC, if something was to stuff up, the spotlight's on the one person up on stage. And I do not want to be embarrassed because of somebody else's failure to give me timely information and so forth and so on. So sometimes people will look, oh man, she's so bossy, but you know, I needed to do a good job.
But it's also the sense of humor, because you have a great sense of humor, and I've been there many times when you've been an MC, and you know, just how you make light of the situation and being able to ad-lib, which is I think one of the most important things of MCing. What I want to talk about next is, from there you went on to being a really, really more famous person than we already were, as Miss Hibiscus of Fiji. So you're on point at the moment with Ellen Whippy and the Honourable Lenora Qereqeretabua, and we'll be back straight after this break. Good evening, and you're back on point with Ellen Whippy-Knight and the Honourable Lenora Qereqeretabua. And just before we left, we were talking about Lenora when she became Miss Hibiscus. As I said, she was already one of the most famous faces on TV and, you know, in the general media and community. And then you, at 20 years old, working at BNZ, you became Miss Hibiscus. How was that for you?
I went in there to try and raise as much money as I could. You know, the Hibiscus, a lot of people forget about the charity arm of Hibiscus. And so our attempt, my team, which was my brother and I and my parents, and the Bank of New Zealand staff, fantastic crew, we were after the charity crown. At that age, I had not discovered makeup. I had not discovered chin waxing.
And you don't need any makeup.
But anyway. I had not discovered any of that. So I was very unsophisticated. I went in there to have fun and to raise as much money as possible. So when they announced my name, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. My mother actually tried to dissuade me from entering Hibiscus. She told me, your life is never going to be the same again, because she was Miss Hibiscus in 1962. And I said, no, I've seen your photos. It looks like a lot of fun. Let me do it. It's going to be fun. Yeah, so
yes, no, I do remember that. Your mother was Miss
Yeah.
Hibiscus in 1962. So you've got two queens in the family, but two of those other kind of queens. Now, you also from there on, you then decided at some stage in your life, because you kept doing your MC work, and you've done a lot of work for the community in terms of fundraising, giving your time. Then you decided, you moved into politics around about 2017. I was not surprised at
Really?
all. Oh, definitely not, definitely not. So what was the initiative that brought you on to take that step?
Well, I've always been outspoken. I've always been outspoken, and
Without
I've always.
a doubt.
You've known me too long, and I've always just said how I felt.
Yes.
But in 2017, with all that's been going on in Fiji's history, and after the tragedy and the destruction of Tropical Cyclone Winston, in November 2017, I was shocked when the government announced that they had set aside $35,000 to welcome back the Fiji delegation to the COP23 meetings in Bonn. When I first heard it, I was so amazed that we had $35,000 to spare when foreign governments were coming here to try and help us get back on our feet, less than 2 years after Tropical Cyclone Winston. So I went on social media and I just had a big rant about where I thought the $35,000 should have been spent, which was bring the hospitals up to par again, pre-Tropical Cyclone Winston, making sure that no children were still going to school under 10s come the new 2018 school year. So I went on social media and I asked people, please use this hashtag, cancel the party, and write to the newspapers and ask people to please agitate, because this is not right, in my opinion. A couple of days later, one of the permanent secretaries had a press conference and actually said, it doesn't matter what Lenora Qereqeretabua says, we are going to have the party. And I thought, well, I actually made some people sit up and take notice. Right after that, the party was cancelled and then rescheduled. But by the time they did have the party, it had been toned down to a much small event. So out of that, I thought, you know, if one person can shake the tree hard enough to make people take notice, then I should stop barking from the sidelines and get in and join the game.
But to get into Parliament, you have to be voted in.
Yes.
Were you absolutely sure that you would be voted in? Were you confident that people would have seen that you were to be a true representative for them?
You're the first person to ask me that, and yes, I had no plan B. I had no plan B. And you may or may not know, but as an opposition candidate, you basically use your own money.
Absolutely.
You know, especially if you're from a smaller party, you use your own money. So I used a lot of my own money, but I had no plan B. I knew I was going to get a seat, and
Really?
it didn't matter how many seats I got, but I was going to get in there and do what I think I should do.
Well, I'm very impressed by that. I mean, you know, obviously where there's a will, there's a way. On your Facebook page, you have a statement, and it says, quite adamantly, I'm not a politician. I'm just a concerned citizen who has decided the time has come to put my hand up and be counted for the betterment of Fiji. So you've got your hand up, you got in there, and how are you doing?
I think I'm doing very well, despite my lack of experience, despite the fact that it's the first time I've ever stood in an election. I think I've done quite a lot in the few weeks of sitting that we've had since we were sworn in November 2018. I've had a lot. I have a great team at my party, at the National Federation Party, who offer advice, who offer all kinds of knowledge and skills and understanding of the way our parliament and government works. And so when I said that, you know, I was fairly new. I just wanted to be there because I knew that there were issues to be met head on. And today I heard Professor Winston from the University of Trinidad and Tobago at the Pacific Update, the Pacific Update conference that's happening at the USP. And he mentioned that when he first got voted into Parliament, and this is coming from a former Reserve Bank governor of the Caribbean and of Trinidad and Tobago, when he first got voted into Parliament, he went to his temple and asked his priest to give him some advice. And his priest said to him, walk in the rain, but don't get wet.
I love that.
Which just means, you know, if you put it biblically, you're in this world, but you're not of it. So yes, you will walk through the muck, but don't let it corrupt you.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Now, being in Parliament probably is a very, it is a very difficult and challenging position, particularly for a woman, and there are only 10 of you in Parliament at this stage. And also, there are different types of people in there. You know, you're very well read, you're very well travelled, you're very well educated, you come from a very strong socio-economic background, and you have really honourable, lovely parents whom I just absolutely love to death. But then you can't choose the people that you work with. And I imagine that you are with people who are the complete opposite of you, and not just as women, but as men as well. How does that work for somebody like you? What do you have to do to be able to see, let people see what your actual vision is? And because they don't come from the same situation that you do, are not able to see that, because the way you're brought up is the way you impact the world and how you view the world.
Right. Oh, great question. Well, first of all, being representatives of the people who voted us in, we represent the different socio-economic groups that voted us in. And I got voted in by people in Rotuma, in Lau, in Kandavu, as well as the Suvarnasori corridor. So people that voted me in are from different socio-economic backgrounds, and I need to understand that. And working in Parliament, even though it gets very combative at times during debates and during discussions in Parliament, we need to understand, all 51 of us need to understand that we're there for the betterment of the country, not for my own rah, but we need to be working together. So differences aside, yes, there are things that can be lost in translation. There are things that I may not understand that somebody else will help me with. So I think as long as you keep your channel of communication open, it doesn't matter what party you're from. If we believe that we're there for the common good of Fiji, then that's the direction we will take. If we continue to be combative, then 4 years from now we'll still be combative, and that'll be a waste of time.
Yes, absolutely. And then again, you know, just the thing about working with women can sometimes be their worst enemies. You know, and they talk about the glass ceiling, but I think in most situations in corporate environments, you've got to go through the top woman boss first of all, and the way they see each other. What's it like in Parliament working with women, knowing that there are women on either side, the opposition and the governing body, a party, and are there internal politics, like, you know, for instance, does it matter to really what you wear to Parliament?
Absolutely not. I mean, we don't think so. The women in Parliament certainly don't think so, and I think there's been column centimeters wasted on what, you know, what we wear, when really we should be talking about what's coming out of our mouth and what kind of changes we're effecting in Parliament. But the way we work together, the 10 women in Parliament do work together. We're
supportive of each other.
We're forming a Fiji women's caucus group, which we plan to formalize, and we're also coming under the Commonwealth Women Parliamentarians group, the Fiji chapter.
Right.
So it means that we can put our party politics aside and work together for things that matter to women, that matter to the women in Parliament itself, in government buildings, but also for the greater good of women in Fiji and regionally, because I think we can be an example to other parliaments. The Solomon Islands has had, you know, up and downs in the number of women parliamentarians. They now have 2. Papua New Guinea has none, and they've got a much bigger population than Fiji.
They have, but they used to have 1 or 2.
So there's an opportunity for us women from Fiji, all 10 of us, doesn't matter what party you represent, to go and help women in other regions in the Pacific.
You've been watching On Point with Ellen Whippy-Knight and the Honourable Lenora Qereqeretabua, and what an interesting conversation we're having, and we'll be back for some more after this break. Welcome back to On Point with Ellen Whippy-Knight and the Honourable Lenora Qereqeretabua. Lenora, what a great conversation this has been.
It's been a really good chat, eh?
It really
we should do this again without the cameras.
Oh yes, please, and with a glass of wine.
Yes.
Tell me something. What do you think your role is in politics? Where do you want to go to with this?
What is my role in politics? Well, I joined because I thought I know I can make a difference from inside. My role right now in my party is as one of the 3 members of the National Federation Party in Parliament. And I believe that in 2022, at the next elections, there'll be more of us from the National Federation Party in the party. as I don't have a, what do you call those things? A looking glass or a glass ball or a
Crystal ball.
crystal ball, that's right. So I don't know what is going to happen in 10 years' time, but I'm here to stay.
Right. What would you like to happen in 10 years' time?
I'd love, well, first of all, a change
Knowing
in
that
government.
the environment is one of your major.
Yes. Yeah. I'd like us, with the environment, I'd like us to start saying what we mean and mean what we say. When we go out there to the great big world and lecture people on how to protect the environment, how to safeguard the environment for those of us in the Pacific that are suffering from the ravages of climate change, I would like to see us taking the action locally first before we go and preach overseas. Things like stop your government vehicles from idling when they're sitting there for hours on end waiting for you. Things like using less paper in Parliament, which I'm happy to say is going to be something that we're going to be doing and working towards in the next few years. So these are the things that I'd really like to see.
That really affect the environment of Fiji.
And also just the change in attitude from the citizens of Fiji to take some pride in our country.
The apathy is quite
shocking.
quite shocking here,
It's
isn't
sad.
it? And so I think I don't have the solution for it. I believe it is the government and the opposition's position to be able to do something about it. And for what it's worth, I think it comes from having a revised or reviewed educational system.
I was going to mention education because everything starts from home.
Absolutely.
And the kids who are chucking things out of the bus windows, my car got hit by an empty Coca-Cola bottle as I passed on a Sese bus the other day, and this kid just threw the bottle out and it hit my car. And I had half a mind to turn around, do a U-turn, and go and pick that child up by his ear.
Yes.
But these are the things.
That's very simple. It's a bad practice, but there's a very simple solution. And I think that is starting basics from school, just finding out how to teach them, and at home, to teach them how to do this. One of the questions I've always liked to ask about women in politics, and that's because you are the minority, and it's sad. I guess everybody's working at it where there's either equal numbers or that women at one day will supersede and become the majority. Yes. But how do you, as the minority, meaning in gender, what are the challenges you face as a female politician?
I think because of my upbringing, I don't see the challenges that some other women might see as challenges.
Why is that? What do you do that is different?
Everyone else is wearing a sulira, I'm wearing a short skirt. So what?
Right.
What matters is what's in here and what comes out of here and what's in here, not what you're wearing. So I'm very respectful. I'm very respectful to my elders. That's how I've been taught. I call everybody Saka. If you're older than me, the police officers in Parliament, I'll call them Saka, even though they're much younger than me. But I just show respect. But when it comes to the gender, the number of men as opposed to women, I'm just my old self.
Right. It's not, you're not concerned by it. You don't live in fear of it.
No.
And do they, during your parliamentary debates, is there ever any insinuation that as a woman you might be less experienced, this might not be the job for you, you should be home instead of sitting up here harping on and on this platform?
Besides the heckling and the who wrote your speech, heckling,
that's
that
just
came
as
from
bad.
Yeah, well, that's water off a duck's back.
Really? Yes.
I was advised by the Honourable Rotemumu Kepa in January last year. She said to me, Lenora, welcome to the fray. Grow a thick skin. And that's basically what you have to do. And people see me as being this really nice lady. And yes, things can hurt. I mean, we're all human beings and people post horrible stuff about you. And but I made the decision to be in politics. And if that's what it's going to take, then that's what it's going to take. Bring it on.
Well, that's good. I mean, you do have to develop that thick skin. just how many other people out there would be able to do that? What would your advice be to young women or to women in general who would like to, who think about entering into politics? Is the path clear for them?
I hope that, I would like to think that it's much clearer now than it was 15, 20 years ago. as they can see, there are much more visible, more vocal women in Parliament, perhaps. I would advise those who would like to get into politics is to choose or to work on your strengths. Work on your strengths and work on what you're passionate about. I'm passionate about the environment, and that's why I really got into Parliament in the first place. And stay true to what you believe. You know, don't get in there and then all of a sudden go, oh, I'm in here now, therefore I can forget about everyone who voted me in, because you have eyes on you. But on the practical level, for women who are interested in going into politics, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, one thing that happens when the candidates are announced is people will look at you and say, what has she done?
Right.
You know, and I was very blessed. I'm very blessed that I had a public persona before this. Because I'm sure there are other women out there who didn't get in and should have, based on their education, their knowledge, and so forth. But I'm very blessed that I had a public persona before I chose to get into politics. The other thing is, so when somebody opens a page and says, oh, who's this candidate? You need to have done something. You need to be out there. You need to stand for something. You need to do some charity work in your community, even if it's in your church or your temple or your mosque. You need to be known. Yes. Also, very important is you need to be financially ready.
I can imagine.
You need to be financially ready. My work dried up last year. As soon as I was announced as an opposition candidate, the work that I used to get from government agencies just absolutely dried up. But fortunately, because I had enough money put away, I was able to use that for my own personal campaigning.
Yes, because I think what you're saying is the most important thing, women, to the women who are listening and watching this program, is that you need to build a profile, a really strong profile, a very clean profile, and then whilst you're at it, keep putting your pennies away so that, you know, in those next couple of years when the next election's on, you're ready for it. Before we go, you are also, as I said, you do so many things. You know, I don't know where you get the time to do it. You sound a bit like me and a bit like other women like us who are really multi-skilled. Yeah. You are also the WOW's ambassador.
WOW's ambassador, yes.
And you are going to shave that hair that frames your face.
No, let me correct
that
you.
You are famous for. You're not shaving it?
I have 2 buckets. My game plan is this. Yes, some people will not want me to shave. Great, thank you very much. Put money in this bucket. And then there are some people who will say, I want to see her pori. Yeah. So I said, fine, put money in this bucket. So either way, if you want me to shave, if you don't want me to shave, you need to put money in there for the WOW's Kids
bucket
Fiji.
That has the most money wins.
On the 14th of September.
Okay, this is the challenge. You need to get down there. When is it?
Well, it's on the 14th of September, so my fundraising is happening now. If, you know, those of you on Facebook, just have a look at my Facebook page, and I've got the details, the BSB Bank details there. Or please just call WOW's Kids Fiji or email them. Their email address is wowskidsfiji@gmail.com. But I'd like to invite you to Thurston Gardens on July the 20th, if I may, Ellen.
Yes,
July the 20th
for
the music, the Food and Music Festival. I'll have a little table over there, and I'll be shaking hands.
Look, you've got to go down and support this. This is for WOW's Kids, which is a very, very, very good community program. And you are a great ambassador for that. And I really think that people should put their hands in their pocket for shaving the hair.
And for the kids with cancer.
Yes, for the kids with cancer. But what I meant was for Lenora to shave her hair.
Oh, Ellen, what kind of a friend are you?
I'm a very good friend.
Man,
we just want to show how adaptable you are to the environment, darling.
Okay, the cold environment. It'll be warmer, so I'll survive.
Yeah, I think you'll do very well. And just lastly, before we go, I just wanted to say something about your father, talking about community projects. We had Lenora Qereqeretabua is one of Fiji's most honourable men, one of the very first Itoke men to be general manager of the Shangri-La of Fiji, and he was so world famous. Everybody in the world knew him that had been to Fiji. And he also helped us a lot when we created the Kidney Foundation of Fiji in Australia, where we fundraised. And it was wonderful working with him. And there's no doubt that all that shine that your father has definitely rubbed off on you. And how is he?
He's well, thank you very much. We'll be so happy to know that you remembered him in this program. Thanks,
Oh,
Ellen.
what a gentleman. And is he still working? Does he still do any charity work himself?
Well, right now he and Mum are very busy looking after our Matangali investments back in the village.
That's right, that's right. Yeah. Oh, well, that's fabulous. You will pass my regards on to him.
Definitely.
Be down there in September, or go July first of all, down
July
to
20th.
the
Thurston Gardens.
Botanical Gardens, I still call it from what it used to be called before, the Thurston Gardens. And you'll see Knox and Alana down there with their beautiful music festival. And then on the 20th, go down there with your fingers crossed that Lenora's head will be shaved, because you're going to be putting tons and tons of money into that bucket. Thank you for being with us on Point tonight with the Honourable Lenora Qereqeretabua, and we'll see you next Monday at the same time, same place, 8 p.m.